Now available on Lulu. John Haynes at Death's Door. The man who rules the world takes on the Greek god of death in this action-packed, all-new John Haynes comic book. Get your copy of the first John Haynes comic at lulu.com today. The folks at Konkret Comics seem to think that I am out here willfully and intentionally giving out bad reviews to their books. Now, I recently gave two Konkret Comics bad reviews, Primate because of the racist imagery as related to the guy in an ape mask, and Luna due to the overall story that just really was all about promoting a swirling narrative. Now, when I gave those books bad reviews, it was based on what was presented to me by the publisher, and I don't actively go out here looking to give comics bad reviews. No, when I go out here and put pledges on these crowdfunding projects to buy these books, it's because I think that these comics are going to show some promise, and I think that they're going to be fun books to read for myself and add to my collection, and books that I would want to other people to go out here and pick up as well. And on those times when I go out here and actively look to critique a book, oftentimes I do this because I believe that there's something that my viewers can learn as related to making their own comics, as related to pointing out the mistakes that are made in the publication that is presented to them in the video. Now, one of the things that I do when I do these comic review videos is I use them as an opportunity to go out here and try to teach my viewers something about the craft of comic book writing, all by pointing out some of the mistakes that these creators make. And some creators, when they hear about the errors that I point out and show them in with the pictures and related to the comic, are extremely grateful. Meanwhile, others do get defensive, but the whole point that I'm trying to do as related to these reviews is one, showcase a spotlight on an independent comic, but also provide lessons for other creators and aspiring comic writers to learn from the mistakes that are presented in the review as related to pointing out those errors. It's all about trying to help aspiring writers learn something that would help them improve their craft as related to these comics. There is nothing here personal being done because, again, the only thing that I can review on is what the publisher presents. And again, if you present stories with errors, any critic is going to go out here and point out those mistakes. Because again, I'm trying to teach about the craft of writing, something you won't get with other comic YouTube channels like Comics Matter, your boy Zach, Just Some Guy, or many of the other comic channels which actively cook and roast books without giving you any sort of perspective. Now, before my issues with Konkret Comics, I went out here and put in a pledge for one of their books called Deja Vu, and the hero on the cover looks very interesting, and he has a very unique design. Unfortunately, when I got this comic, it was just a whole lot of exposition. And again, that's a major mistake that a lot of creators go out here and do in their first issue, believing that they can create a covert contract where they can try to sell you number 2 by padding out issue number 1 with a long pet origin story. And again, that's a major mistake because you only get one chance at a first impression on your readers, and in that issue you need to go out here and deliver everything so that you can build up anticipation for your second issue. Now, the cover of Deja Vu shows us a hero in action in some sort of powered battle suit, and this is what needed to be delivered in this first issue. Unfortunately, this first issue is extremely slow as related to the pacing, and we don't get to see the guy in this suit in action. We don't even get to see this suit in action, and that really fails to answer the critical question, why should we care? I mean, you got this guy in this fantastic battle suit, and we need to see him in action, but what we get is a little snippet on the first page which says, As a mysterious organization looks to impose their will on the world, Malcolm Crown rises as Deja Vu, the only hero who can stop them. Unfortunately, we don't get to see how Malcolm rises to become this hero, and we get the opening page of the comic opening with Malcolm coming out of a fight. And again, that's not how you open up your first issue. A first issue needs to be all about letting us see this hero and letting us see this hero at the forefront, not letting us see him after the battle and trying to use this as a flashback sequence. Again, this is just really slow storytelling, and it doesn't bring you in very quickly, because in comics, your goal is to bring people in the first 3 to 5 pages, and you need to go out here and let us see this hero in action in those first 3 to 5 pages, or building up to him in that action, because that's going to be the thing that leaves a strong first impression on the reader to make us care. So we get this scene of Malcolm and his wife after everything, and Malcolm is looking like he's coming out of a defeat. And again, this is not an opening scene that really sells the book. No, it doesn't sell the book as related to leaving a strong first impression on us. Now, I am happy to see a black couple in this book, a black man and a black woman together, but the whole thing is that the story just isn't strong enough. We have this guy, he's coming out of a defeat. He's saying that they say his wife is trying to encourage him as related to using this power, but the second page really it doesn't show Malcolm as a strong character. It says that Crown Global, a renowned research and development company, is run by his wife, and the lead character basically has been buried, similar to what happened with Odina, and that's not a good, strong opening for your lead character. I mean, your lead character has to open very strongly, and again, we don't see him strong. We see the women being presented first, and that's not a good way to open your book. It's not a good way to open your book because, again, you're burying your lead, and burying your lead is something that's passive. When you're doing a superhero comic and you have this guy up at the front, we need to see him up at the front, not being pushed to the back and being not made to be a strong center focus. Now, Malcolm doesn't pop up until page number 2, and we see that he has a back-to-back office. And again, he's the guy. He's not the CEO of the company, who is the one with the leadership and the vision. He's the chief operating officer, who's basically running the day-to-day. And again, that's burying the lead character and not presenting him in a strong fashion. So the Malcolm character in Deja Vu has been pushed to the back. And again, that's not how you go out here and open your story. You don't open your story with your hero pushed to the back. You gotta bring him up to the front, and you have him again working with this equipment in the background with his trainer. And then we go into this Crown Global boardroom, and all of a sudden, another character, Rui, is in the background, again very passive, and we get this whole revelation about, there's somebody coming after the executives at the company, and they have to implement some sort of guardian protocol. And after they do this guardian protocol, Malcolm is trying to figure out what this has to do with his father. They all have to get new identities. There's this briefcase, and Malcolm is given. And all of this, again, basically feels a lot like a CW show script. But the problem is we don't really see how any of this relates to the hero or even develops the villain. It just feels like it's just a story that has a lot of interesting ideas, but not everything has not been developed to go out here and give you a compelling story as related to comics. Yes, this would work very nicely on a CW show, but it just doesn't work well as related to a comic. Now we get these ninja-type bad guys who come in, and his trainer, again, he's in action. Then we get more sequences of more ninjas and another big alien four-eyed ninja who comes up later on. And again, we've got these ninjas, we've got this conspiracy theory, but we really don't get much good character development with Deja Vu. I mean, this book is all exposition, and again, that's not what you want in a first issue, where you're putting a dude on the cover in some really bad-looking armor. I mean, we want to see the dude in the bad-looking armor in the first issue in action. We don't want to see him in the aftermath of the fight. No, we need to see him in the fight because, again, the first rule of truly good storytelling is show, not tell. And the big problem with Deja Vu is that it tells a story very passively and it doesn't actively show you this hero in action. Now, I get they wanted to go out here and show us the origin of the enemies of Malcolm against the Crown family, but the problem is that we don't get to see this suit in action. And again, when people are paying $15 plus $10 shipping for these books, that's $25. I mean, you got to go out here and make a strong first impression by giving us the hero in action, because at $25 a pop, we're not going to sit here and wait for the action to start. No, at $25, people read the first issue, see nothing is happening, and that's the end of them going out here and looking to buy more copies of Deja Vu. And that's what the folks at Konkret Comics really don't understand about many of these third wave books. Many of these third wave books really, they don't do a good job of paying off the reader. They don't really do a good job of leaving a strong first impression on the reader that motivates them and anticipating and going out here to pay for the next issue, the same way we were with Acolyte, the same way we were with The Watchmen, the same way we were with Candake. I mean, those were books that when you read an issue of them, you wanted to go out here and pick up the next issue, and you were anticipating picking up the next issue, not even thinking about the high price tag that you were paying on these Kickstarters and for shipping. And again, when I look at this book, again, I paid, $15 for the paper and the digital copy, and this book really, again, padded out with a lot of exposition, never really showing us that hero in that awesome armor in action. And again, that's a big problem because it just doesn't really give the customer a satisfying reading experience. And again, the folks at Konkret Comics, they have an issue with me going out here and making criticisms of some of their comics, but I can only critique what is presented to me in these books that you have written. I can only go by what you put on the page. I can only go out here and make reviews of what is given to me as a reviewer. And again, as a reviewer, I cannot go out here and say, hey, go out here and buy this book if the story just isn't there. And again, this is nothing personal or malicious. And again, I go out here and I do these reviews, one, because I want to see these comics get more exposure, and two, I oftentimes do, when I have to go out here and make detractions as related to these books, I try to do it in a way that helps aspiring comic writers learn something more about the craft of writing from my over 25 years of experience, my over 80 books that I have written, and all of the techniques I have learned from writing novels, screenplays, and comics. I want people to come in and learn something about writing so that they can go out here and further hone their craft. Because what I saw with Luna, what I saw with Primate, what I see with Deja Vu is a decline of quality in the writing. And again, what's really sad is while the Deja Vu comic it has all of this exposition, there's a lot of action in I believe the Deja Vu comic. Let me go bring it up. You see, they have the Deja Vu mini, and in the Deja Vu mini, guess what? We get to see the hero in action, and this is what should have been in the book people paid for. I mean, this is what we want as related to a comic. This is how you give people a strong first impression. I mean, we've got Malcolm's wife and his brother, Rui. We see them active as related. It's still a bit passive, but we still get to see Malcolm in his costume, in action. And again, what was in the preview should have been in this comic. I mean, all of this, it's again, really slow. Really, it's CW style writing. And again, you want to go out here and again, open up very strong, like what was presented here as related to the mini. The mini opens a bit stronger. And again, this is what you want as related to your comic. This is what's going to leave an impression on the reader that gives them motivation to read more. And again, you get one chance as related to your comic. When you're in the reader's hands, you get one chance to leave an impression on them, whether they want to buy more or whether they want to leave your book on the shelf in the store. So I looked at Deja Vu, and again, I'm not roasting this book because there's nothing here that's really as bad as Primate or Luna. It's just not executed very well, and the writers here need to get a little bit more seasoning on developing action sequences and developing your pacing as related to your story. Because again, in a comic book, you only have 3 to 5 pages to grab the reader. The reader is going to flip through the comic, and if they don't see anything serious going on in 3 to 5 pages, they're going to put your book back on the shelf, and then they're going to move on to something else. And that's just a hard fact of business as related to competing in the comic marketplace. It's just something that's part of the business. And again, this is harsh things to hear for some at Konkret Comics, but this is all part of the business I have learned over the last 20 years as related to getting into publishing. If you don't go out here and leave a strong first impression on your customers, you're not going to be able to build a customer base. And while they think, oh, harsh reviews go out here and are going to hurt their business, what hurts your business even more are the silent customers who go out here, read a book that does not provide a satisfying reading experience, who don't come back for more, and even worse, don't say anything. I've run into that. And again, that's the worst thing that could ever happen to a publisher. When you go out here, give a reader a book that doesn't really satisfy them as related to their reading experience, and then what they do is not come back for more because they've had bad experiences. And again, that's all because a lot of publishers don't want to take a critical look at the kind of books they're presenting, don't want to take a critical look at the techniques they're presenting in their books, and don't want to take a look at the way they're approaching story. Things that I tried to explain to the publishers at Konkret Comics, who sadly got in their feelings over a couple of reviews where I pointed out faults and flaws in their books. And again, since they didn't want to hear me, again, maybe the customers have to tell them, like one of them did in my ISIS video. I mean, you have the customers, again, they might have to tell them, but this was a book that I had spent some money on a Kickstarter for. And again, I do these reviews, and again, to help out writers. And this was one of the books that I had gotten, and again, I wanted to do this review because, again, the ideas here are interesting, but the execution needs work because the story is not really drawing the reader in fast enough. Because, again, that 3 to 5 pages is the key to selling your book, and every aspiring writer needs to know that you have a limited window to bring that reader in. And if you don't answer those 3 critical questions, who is the main character, what do they want, and what conflicts they face, and why should I care in 3 to 5 pages, then it's going to be that much harder to sell your book.
because the reader is not going to go past that point if they don't see any action going on in that book. So I look at Deja Vu, and again, it's another Konkret miss for me, and it shows how the foundation of Konkret, which was rock solid, is starting to crumble because they're rushing out too many titles as related to quantity and not really putting a focus on quality. Again, everything that was here in the preview should have been, everything in this preview should have been in that first issue. And again, it should have been in the first issue. But the whole thing is, Konkret Comics has a lot to learn about the business of publishing. And again, you only get one chance to make a first impression on the reader with the book that you sell. And again, this is why everything has to be in that book that you're selling, because the book that people hold in their hands is the one that's going to go out here and motivate and incentivize people to pick up the next issue. And again, that's what I'm trying to teach here as related to this video, because again, this is not like Comics Matter, your boy Zach, where they just talk about SJWs and roast up bad comics. I want to teach people so that they can hone and develop their craft. And again, the criticisms here are not personal. They're about helping you improve your skills so you can go out here and make the best comics for your business and take your comic creating and in this business to the next level. Now, my comic, John Haynes at Death's Door, is available on Lulu, and you can pick up your copy of John Haynes at Death's Door on Lulu right now by clicking the link in the description box. And if you want to pick up my other comic, Esteem, No Good Deed, you can find that comic on Kindle for 99 cents. And if you want to pick up some of my action-packed fantasy fiction on the ISIS series, the Esteem series, the John Haynes series, and the books of the Spinsterella trilogy, you can find all those books on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find those books at other online booksellers like Smashwords, the iBookstore, Google Play, Barnes & Noble, Walmart, and Target. And if you want to see me be able to pay for more independent comics and help give them a spotlight, you can send a donation to the Patreon, the PayPal, or the Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.
Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Now available in paperback and e-readers. John Haynes, 1987. Learn lessons about life and teenage love in the 1980s in this coming-of-age John Haynes story. Get your copy of John Haynes 1987 in paperback and e-readers at Amazon.com and online booksellers everywhere.